before I begin this flashback review of Sidekick, I want to just say I want to dedicate this film to Jonathan Brandis and Mako. These are the two guys, two actors who have also played in this movie. There have been one is a very legendary actor, fantastic voice actor. He is well known both in the U.S. circuit as well as internationally. And I'm also Jonathan Brandis, who I consider this be one of my favorite film, if not the favorite film from him. For those who don't know, a long time, a while ago, about I think 10, 20 years ago, he had committed suicide, basically due to the fact that he was depressed, that he couldn't get any other roles and any other parts after he have gotten older. He is known to many people for this film, but he also did a lot of work, Never Ending Stories, and a few TV commercials to just to say a few. But it was this movie that really stands out to be his crowning work, despite the fact that the film wasn't that big of a financial success, or the fact that the film was not a critical darling. In fact, it had a lot of bad reviews. It was really this film that a lot of people really enjoyed as an audience, more so than critics. And I want to make that very clear that I really appreciate this film a lot more. When I think of him, I always think about this film and this film period. It is one of the films that I have watched constantly despite the goofiness of the movie. And it's a film that really deserves a little bit more credit, which I'll explain in the review, for pointing out some of the flaws of a lot of the film that came out during the 80s all the way into the early 90s. So with this, I am dedicating this review, as well as giving my shout out to the two stars for actually making this film and actually entertaining me throughout the time. So without further ado, let's get right down to it. Welcome to the Flashback Review. I'm J77, and today's movie we'll be talking about is Sidekick, starring Jonathan Brandis, Chuck Norris, and Mako. These are the films. This is the movie that I gotta tell you, I consider to be the last film based on not one but three genres. And I say that because, number one, it is a blend of different genres. This is an action comedy, a PG family action comedy, and a film that really gotten not so good reviews, including Rotten Tomatoes, which I believe is holds at 18%, even though I kind of question that percentage, considering only 8 reviewers have actually reviewed this movie. With that being said, I do think this film has a lot of things that they should be very happy for, a lot of things they should be thankful for, and I'm gonna get right straight down to my feeling on this film. First of all, let's get down to the Chuck Norris scenario. This is the movie, out of all the films he's done, this is the one film that completely altered his career. There's no question about it. There's no way around it. This is the one that made him into a punchline or a synonym for crazy stuff that people do in action films. A little unfair in my opinion, because I think that if you look at the action film that was done in the 80s, late 70s, even the early 90s, a lot of action films have those flaws that Chuck Norris is known for, being that the hero is invincible, he cannot die, he can do almost everything just by basically shooting a gun, the poses that they have, the dramatic entrance. A lot of these action films had it. Sylvester Stallone had it in some of his action films, and do I need to say Arnold Schwarzenegger and how much his dramatic entrance, his villains not shooting properly if their life depended on it, him not getting injured. These things were in every films, and then some. Yet Chuck Norris, with this one movie, has been branded that honor, and for reasons that I will explain about this. Let's get to the plot. Barry, who is the main character, he lives with his father, who is also a widow, who has unusual amount of daydream, excessive daydream about being Chuck Norris' sidekick, his right hand man. And these adventures have is pretty much just alone hilarious. When he has these daydreams, I'm just buckling up because I'm getting to see something that's crazy and just insane, and it didn't disappoint me. However, it doesn't mean it is actually healthy, especially when you have bullies who are just basically just being relentless. When he's trying to impress a girl played by Winnie. I know her name is not Winnie. I know she's a great math teacher and everything else. Trust me, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but to me, and like everybody else who saw the Wonder Years, she will always be Winnie, regardless of anything that she have done. Even though I would recommend you pick up her math book, it is fantastic. Trying to impress him, finding out that that's not working out. Scene gets a little dark with his daydream when you have a torture scene when in reality he's having an asthma attack. Makes me wonder about how serious asthma really was at that time when I was little. It really shows he was not in control. However, things started changing with Mr. Lee, who's happened to be an uncle of a teacher he also admires and respects. Started teaching him the arts of fighting. He owns a restaurant called the Flying Dragon. He finds a creative way of teaching Barry to defend himself from the bullies. His methods increase his endurance, helps him with his asthma, and it really shows. And it shows very well. One thing I'll give a credit to is the montage and the way he's being trained. It really felt more genuine. I haven't seen that kind of genuine fighting. I'm going to the 80s since the original Karate Kid, and the only other film I think did a very good job of connecting the teacher-students was with the remake of Karate Kid. So I really did think this film did a good job with that situation. Their bonding is very, very good. There's nothing forced there, and it really shows that he's really trying to help Barry defend himself. Then Barry felt, however, things came to that pass where Barry is trying to be more active in gym. Like I said, this is where the high school genre comes into play, and not in a very good way, but it is what it is. You have the guy who played the Night Court. He became his gym teacher. Completely, he's just as worse as the bullies put together. Basically, call him a wuss, and basically don't really have any comments. But after when Barry, started to really be involved in gym, that's when things started to take a different stride. Things really started to get a different stride when Barry started to defend himself against the bully, and basically fought him off, which led to the biggest criticism of this film, and I'll get to that in a minute, because that was really the biggest criticism of this film. The girl he was trying to impress actually liking him. However, things did not end there. The bully challenged him to a tournament. For some reason, they just couldn't leave things be. So he challenged him to a martial arts tournament, which he accepted. His teacher, his students, all enter the tournament, but there was one person short. And that's when Chuck Norris comes in. So his idol, his hero, his mentor, actually helped Barry win the tournament. And that's basically what it is. And there was one scene, and I'm going to talk about this because it is a scene that I think really defines the teacher versus student. But I'm going to leave that for last because I really want to talk about that scene. It's a very well done scene. And it really shows, and it really changed my perspective about martial arts a lot more in that one scene than most of the kung fu flicks I have. But it really is a one scene that I actually really respect, really enjoyed. I think Mako have done a great job of representing what kung fu or the martial arts really is all about, and I'll talk about that later. First, let's get to some of the flaws that is in this movie. This is a film that is a hybrid of 3 genres, and it actually poked fun of these genres, even though if you didn't realize it or not. The high school genre, the action genre, and pretty much the comedic style of these dramas. pretty much this film really does a great job of blending these genres together in a way that it pokes fun of it, and sometimes it works, and a lot of times it don't. The problem with the movie, I will get right straight up to the point, is that this film sent the wrong message in many ways, especially of how to deal with bullies. It sent the message, and this has pretty much been a harsh criticism of a lot of critics who really said this was not the way you want to teach our young kids to deal with this kind of problem. We don't want to reward violence with violence, and that was with the scene where Barry fought back, pretty much defending himself, and rightfully so. I got no problem with that. That scene is a good action scene. They were both actually getting some blows in, blows that could have killed each other. That's pretty much in there. But he's fighting. He's staying his ground. Finally, the teacher comes in and broke them up and said, "Go get in the shower." And he told Barry, not bad at all. And that was strike one, because you don't want to praise that kind of stuff. You don't want to encourage that kind of behavior. Two, I mentioned a little bit about the Winnie situation where he liked it. He liked it, this girl, and but she didn't feel the same way, realizing that the bully, which mentioned to him earlier that he only wants to hang out with because he feels sorry for him, and that was where that bold situation. But the moment she saw him fight, all of a sudden he has the hots for him. I'm sorry, what? It took that? Really? That is definitely was... No, that's not what you want to show on the screen. But they did, and it didn't really register well with a lot of critics, and even a lot of parents who did not like that scene. He did not felt that's the kind of message you want. These are the harsh criticism that a lot of the critics, parents, and even some moviegoers, to an extent, had with this film. It sent the wrong message that violence is okay, that violence is the ultimate problem solver, and that is simply not the case. Now comes the other issue about the film, is that again, this film has a pacing issue, not that severe, but when you have a comedy and an action film, it tends to show a little bit every now and then. It's not something that if you watch the film just for the sake of watching the film, you may not notice it, but I noticed it a little bit where the pacing can be a little bit off at times, especially when nothing's really happening, and that's something that the film have suffered about. But most importantly, here's something that I think people don't realize this. This is a film that came out in the US in 1993 of April 9th. It came out 1 year earlier in Germany on December 17th, 1992. Their release was different than ours. Yet this film feels like it belongs in 1985. That's how crazy this film is. This film is literally stuck in 1985. The music alone, it reeks of the 1980s. Not saying it's a terrible thing, but it is something that should tell people this is a spoof. It's poking fun of itself. It's actually poking fun of a lot of genre. This is a high school genre where some of the students are jerks. Even some of the teachers are even more jerks, and there's hardly any authority whatsoever to stop them. And that's the main thing you get from this film. It's an action genre where it shows all the ridiculousness, featuring Chuck Norris in his glory. It really does. I mean, it's just basically everything that we probably is criticized about this film. We've seen this with other films. All you need to do is look back at my previous two reviews about these films, Commando and Knockoff. Watch these films, and you can't tell me that you can't see why they was poking fun of this. The guys can't shoot the good guy for nothing. The good guy's invincible. He's nothing he cannot do. The dramatic entrance, the best one I love is when Chuck Norris coming out of the water with his gun. You have Barry coming out with him shooting. That machine gun should not be working if it's been that deep underwater, and swamp water no less. But that's how it is. We've seen this constantly. They're still referencing Rambo. Rambo is probably the most referenced of this kind of genre in all of the action films, because a lot of bullets is coming his way, and for some reason he's not getting hit. Oh, my bad. The fourth Rambo film, he got shot in the arm, one shot, while he just mangling all the other enemies to bits and pieces. So this is one of the things that they was doing. They're poking fun at this film, and for the most part, it did its job. I think one of the biggest strengths, in my opinion, is when the daydreams come in. You see Chuck Norris doing his thing. I mean, reminding people why he was a great action star from his time. I love Eye for an Eye. I love Octagon, and some of the names surprisingly have come from an Eye and Eye, one of my personal favorite films. I love Missing in Action. Those are my favorite action films that you could come up with. But I don't think that this film. The problem I think with this film is that it is a genre that at that time when this film was coming out, people were starting to move away from. Keep in mind, we haven't seen a high school film genre the same way we have. We haven't seen a high school film, period. We really haven't. I think the only closest we came from in terms of a high school type movie where the genre is completely dedicated to the high school was High School Musical. And that's it. I mean, we really did not have a genre that sticks with that. Not in the way that we have grown up with. We grew up with 3 O'Clock High. I grew up with Fast Time in Richmond High. I grew up with 16 Candles. Those were high school films that really represent the good and the bad about high school films. Action films are not done the same way. This is pretty much the last of the goofy, cheesy action film that came out during that time frame. If you look at the films that came out during the 80s that was action related versus the film that came out now, there is no comparison. That the time has changed. A lot of the good action films are more realistic, are more grittier. The effects have played a role in it. There is a whole different ball game. And most of the action films now are realism. This film reflects a day that has been long gone. And it does it very, very good, in my opinion. I think this film is a fun, good comedy action film. Is it flawed? Oh yeah, it got problems. There's no question about it. There's no question that this film has a lot of problems. But do I consider it to be the one of the worst? No. This is a film that if this film came on right now, or I can find it on cable, or I can find it on the internet, I'll watch. Because it's that good of a film. It's fun, goofy, just all out fun to me. And that's how I look about it. If you want to say keep your brain out at home, this is a film that they are talking about. Because you're not going to look for this film for the same quality that you look for in, say, what like you see in Commando, or even some of the other films that came before this film. This film pretty much knew what it was doing. It was basically poking fun of a couple of genres that pretty much became a passe now in our time in 2017, and I think it did well. How well? Is a 2.5 out of 4 to me. And for those who don't know, 2.5 is not a bad rating. Okay, it is a not bad, but could have been much better rating. And again, there were some things I just cannot ignore. Some of the pacing, for instance, the comedy was a little bit off and on. Too many unlikable characters in this movie. And of course, you have the situation where it's okay, beating up people up will definitely give you some rewards. You never want to show that kind of film like that. You always that has always been a big gripe with me when it comes to this film. But other than that, I think Chuck Norris was great in this movie. It's a shame that he's been branded the way he was after this film. But I thought for the most part he did what he had to do. He gave the seriousness that the film needed. He gave us action that we have come to love from Chuck Norris. It just was watered down to a PG film. And it's not a bad PG film. It's not a PG action film at all. I mean, I've seen worse. This was actually more fun. Kenneth Branagh. Jonathan Brandis. This is his defining role, in my opinion. This is his defining role. Maker was great. I thought this film had great chemistry with the lead stars. It really did felt like I was watching a film. Did it at times felt like it belonged to the CW? Yeah, but for the most part, especially with the music, but for the most part, it did well. One of the things that really again grabbed me was the how the training montage was handled, how Barry's training was handled. And let's get to that final scene. The one scene I think really defines my second assessment towards martial arts, and I'm glad I did, was how martial arts is really not meant for fighting. And the perfect example of it was when he has to break some bricks. And at first he did good, but he felt, hey, look, I hurt myself here. Why would that happen? And he told me he was using too much force. He's not being one with what he's doing, and that is something he needs to learn. Another perfect example is how Barry was getting wound up by the bully. He's getting all angry at the emotion, and the teacher just came right up and he said, "Concentrate. You're here to win tournament, not to try to impress or beat that silly boy." And it was like caught me by surprise. Wait, isn't that the point of him doing the tournament, to beat him? But it took me a while to realize something is that he was letting this kid get into his head. Don't get into his head. Wipe that out. You have a task to do. Stay focused. Stay with them in the moment. And that moment is you and those bricks. One of the best scene, and you see the audience in that awe, and I was at awe because I'm like, whoa, he's actually going a little beyond that. It's when he actually put kerosene on the bricks, and he actually lit it on fire, and he said, "This will help you concentrate." And I was really in. That's when I started really saying, okay, this is getting deep. And of course, as you all know, he actually achieved it. But it was that type of teaching and method that really grabbed onto me and said, did I misread Kung Fu? Did I thought Kung Fu was just learning how to fight, or should I be re-educating myself on something here? And I did, and I found out that Kung Fu is not about really fighting, but mostly meditation, being one with self. Understanding yourself. You don't use Kung Fu to fight. You use Kung Fu to avoid fighting, to have a clearer head in terms of that. But then again, when I see all these Kung Fu films, I never thought about that. That's just something that not just me, but a lot of Westerners have a false understanding of what Kung Fu is, or what basically martial arts is in general. It's more of a meditation. My uncle teaches Qigong. It's a movement meditation, but you are thinking from what he's doing with his movements and how he's breathing in and breathing out, you would think he's actually practicing a certain kind of martial art technique. They're very similar, but all he's doing is teaching to find your chi, move in and out, and basically become one. And that was what the film has done. This film really explode, because many people, when it came to it, was the tournament, but it really didn't focus on what the Karate Kid was doing, where they was fighting throughout different rounds, fighting each other, beating each other. No, this film really focused more on the meditation. Yes, there was a fighting scene with Chuck Norris and Joe Piscopo. It was ridiculous, I get it. Joe Piscopo got knocked around, but it was that one scene, that and the nunchuck scene that Barry was imagining, that really set the stage. That one scene where the teacher was instructing his student, explaining to his student what his true task was, and getting his student to calm down. That is a memorable scene in my opinion, and for that I always give extra points for that, because it really taught me a little lesson, but it also shows that, hey, some more to martial arts than just fighting. But what's your opinion about this? Do you agree, disagree? I'd like to hear your opinion on it. Give me your comments below. Again, this is a popcorn film for a lot of reasons, but it basically is also a film that I consider to be a guilty pleasure film. So again, if you don't like it, I understand, but to me, it's still a film that I actually enjoy, and that's all I got to say about that. Until next time, J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.